दोस्तों, मैं कई बार आपके सामने अपनी बात रख चुकी हूँ, लेकिन फिर दोहराऊंगी कि न सिर्फ मैं, लेकिन अब JNU-TA के रेजोल्यूशन, पता नहीं आपने देखा है कि नहीं, लेकिन JNU-TA के GBM में, it was a very well attended GBM, more than 100 teachers, we unanimously passed a resolution condemning the suspension of students. This resolution is online for you to see. We took the stand as a teacher's body that suspension and revocation of hostel facilities are punishments which cannot be awarded without an inquiry, and that the university has been that in suspending these students, university has acted against the principles of natural justice, against all procedures and norms. So we are all with you. It's not one teacher or two teachers. We are all with you. About social justice, I'll speak very briefly, but we need to recognize the difference between equality and social justice. Equality is a good value and we value it, but equality with what? Who do we want to be equal to? What is the norm to which we want to be equal? These are very complicated questions, but ultimately equality does not raise questions about social transformation. The concept of social justice, which has emerged from the Indian context, is a concept that we take very seriously because it thinks about social transformation from the roots. And the idea of social justice we draw from thinkers like Ambedkar onwards, and of course before that Phule and so on. The Dalit Bahujan thinkers of this soil are the people who have produced this valuable political concept of social justice by which we stand and which we believe in. We believe in social justice not because there are some, it's not a gift. Social justice is not a gift that is given by some sections of society to others. Social justice is a value that we integrate into ourselves. Those who are privileged recognize their privilege, and those who are not privileged recognize their rights. This is what the idea of social justice does. It transforms you from inside out. The French thinker Foucault said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, what is the point of accumulating knowledge if it does not lead to the destabilization of the person who is acquiring that knowledge? And we need to be destabilized, each and every one of us, from our position of privilege or disprivilege, and the idea of social justice is what will help us to do that. Now, in practical terms, in an institution, what does social justice mean, in an educational institution in particular? It means, of course, the presence of historically deprived communities and historically marginalized communities of different sorts, and that presence has to be ensured through reservations, through proactive affirmative action. There's all of that. It also means the presence among faculty of those same historically marginalized communities, because when classroom teaching is dominated by people who have been historically privileged, it perpetuates the idea that only some people can reach that stage. When a woman sees a woman teaching, when a Dalit sees a Dalit professor, when a woman sees a woman professor, when different kinds of communities, when Dalit Bahujan women are actually in the faculty, that transforms the space of the university, it transforms the intellectual agenda of universities, it transforms the way in which questions are raised and answered, it changes the space of the classroom. So the presence of historically marginalized communities inside classrooms and inside educational institutions at every level is the basic minimum to bring about social justice. Now, we know that, like all institutions, JNU is by no means a perfect institution. No one can claim that. When many of us, over this attack on JNU, when we have been claiming a certain history to JNU, the idea is not to say that JNU is above criticism. The idea is to see that JNU is one of those institutions, not the only one, but one of those institutions in India which has tried, where some part of the faculty and a large part of student body have tried to address the question of social justice. Not everybody, not every student and not every faculty, but this has been continuously an issue that JNU has taken seriously. which is why there is this consistent attack on JNU ever since this VC came to power. I'm saying came to power. It's a funny term to use for a VC, but it's like he came to power. Within a week of his coming, the attacks on JNU started. And the previous VC was here for 2 years under the Modi regime. And nothing much happened. We carried on. I remember, I mean, you know, it's like when you have such people who, as our current administration, the previous administration start looking very rosy in comparison, although we had our problems with them as well. But I remember an occasion on which the previous Vice-Chancellor, Sopori, was in a board meeting at the School of International Studies, and there were external members of the board present, and students marched into the room and started shouting slogans, and our councillors stood up and started shouting, student councillors stood up and started shouting slogans, and everybody waited for the slogans to end, and Sopori said quietly to one of the external members, "This is JNU, this is our tradition, please be patient." You know, so it was another world in which we lived, and we are now facing the kind of onslaught that, as I said previously from precisely here, that we are facing the kind of onslaught that the rest of India has been facing for a long time, but particularly in the past years under the current regime under Modi. So it's in a way the absolute violation of rules, the lies, the procedural violations, the absolute contempt towards any kind of notion of justice or equity. All of this is what Chhattisgarh has been facing, and Kashmir has been facing, and the Northeast has been facing, and it's all just entered our gates. That's what we are facing today, and we are fighting a very, very big battle. Now, there is an issue, and we all recognize it, and some of us have been fighting about it and talking about it and struggling about it and raising questions with previous administrations as well, that faculty reserved positions have not been filled. They've simply not been filled. OBC positions have not been, there's been stiff resistance from some sections of the faculty, and as far as SC posts are concerned, there are many, many, many vacant posts. Now, there are many levels at which this can be done. Posts, you don't advertise posts. When you advertise posts and the shortlisting is done, then interviews are not held. Now, at both these levels, faculty don't have any say, at least not general faculty, don't have any say in advertising of posts or in holding of interviews. Then at the third level, interviews may be held, and then it may be declared that there were no candidates worthy of filling the post. At that level, faculty can be involved because there would be a chairperson, there would be a dean, etc. I'm just trying to tell you that at every level, the faculty is not responsible for the lack of filling of posts, but we have raised, some of us, at least many of us, have raised these questions about where are these posts, why aren't they being filled. But the filling of faculty posts is absolutely essential, and right now there's this Vice-Chancellor is launched a big drive to fill SC posts. I'm not sure what the agenda is exactly, but he's doing it, and it's fine. Let's go ahead and fill those posts. Now, social justice requires one more element as far as students are concerned. One is their admission. But once they come here, we have a responsibility as faculty to produce the conditions in which that historical deprivation can be addressed. We need to have remedial classes, we need to have very close interaction with students to make up for the cultural capital that other sections have so easily got by birth, and it's our job to do that. And here is where many of us feel very, very defeated by the large numbers. So the filling of faculty posts is also important for that reason. So the teacher-student ratio is suddenly, the ratio has become very, the gap has become very wide in the sudden influx of students, like overnight, from 3,000 it went up to 7,000, and the faculty positions were not accordingly filled. So that is also our responsibility. So social justice involves not just bringing people in and their presence here, as far as students are concerned, but the training that we need to give in order to make up for centuries of neglect, not just years of neglect. So I think these are the issues that I assure you at least 3/4 of the faculty of JNU are concerned with, I don't only speak for myself when I say we are very, very concerned about the ways in which the kind of debates and arguments we used to have become so black and white. They've become so bitter. Among us, I mean, the debates among us have become very, very polarized, and we need to open up areas of dialogue and discussion among ourselves, among people who are in general opposed to Hindutvad and who believe in social justice. And I hope that this process of conversation and dialogue can be kept up. And I salute you. Jai Bhim, Lal Salam.